The young man looked directly at the poised woman and demanded to know what right she had to interfere. He insisted that he had never come seeking revenge, only to be met with an angry challenge to explain himself. Fang scoffed that Yi must have knelt before Qin, begged forgiveness, and traded his pride for a bodyguard's post. With cruel delight, he mocked the neatly dressed man as nothing more than a dog dressed in human clothes. President Qin's face darkened as the woman accused her of changing her position on Yi without explanation. Even her suited subordinate stared in disbelief, unable to understand President Qin's decision. Having heard enough, Qin ordered the troublemaker expelled from the company and the employee who vouched for him dismissed. Publicly humiliated, Fang exploded, shouting that he was the dignified young master of the Fang family. He turned his fury on Yi and swore that this insult would destroy his life. Driving away, Fangs hurled a final threat at Qin, promising to make her pay for the humiliation. Inside the car, he decided that the family needed to hear exactly what had happened to Yi. When Fang brought them the news that Yi now served Qin, the family reacted with stunned disbelief. He embellished the story eagerly, claiming Yi had knelt before President Qin and begged for mercy. Enraged by the tale, confronted Yi and accused him of kneeling to another woman. For 3 years of marriage, she cried, he had never once knelt before her. Beside her, another woman sneered that perhaps simply had never possessed enough charm. She boastfully declared that from the first day of marriage, she would have made Yi kneel and wash her feet. Bitterly insisted that if she could begin again, she would keep him kneeling in service all day. Fang impatiently demanded that they act at once against Qin for breaking her word. Turned in shock to the family elder, who reminded her that their financing still rested in Qin's hands. Fang needled over her jealousy, insisting that she had to admit President Qin knew how to control a man. Declared that he would personally seek help from group, despite angry resistance. In the elegant sitting room, the family elder ordered him to call Qin himself. Carefully choosing her words, she asked President Qin why the family's former son-in-law had suddenly become her bodyguard. Qin responded coldly, demanding to know why the family had changed its attitude toward cooperation. Forced into a corner, the elder apologized over the phone and admitted that she could not fulfill the promise she had made. Desperate to preserve the deal, she even offered the family's live-in son-in-law as a gift, leaving horrified. Qin returned to business, asking plainly what would happen to the promised $70 million financing. The elder assured her that would visit President Yi in person to discuss the project. She urged her grandson to perform well before President Yi, and he confidently promised that their proposal would satisfy him. Quietly asked whether they still meant to pursue the accusation that Yi had stolen the watch. The elder ordered her grandson to find evidence against Yi, since challenging Qin directly would gain them nothing. Stung by criticism, blamed for allowing the family to waste such a promising opportunity. Unable to endure another word, fled while a worried companion called after her. At the wheel, Fang burned with rage and vowed to teach Yi a lesson for humiliating him. His roared through the dim underground garage as he hurried toward his next move. Then he pointed in shock. Yi and Qin were seated together in the car ahead. Seeing her ex-husband dressed with such sharp dignity after their divorce only deepens resentment. In the parking garage, she stormed up to Yi and accused him of shamelessly attaching himself to Qin. He faced her calmly and asked why the proud eldest daughter of the family had come looking for him. Accused him of throwing away his dignity to beg another woman for forgiveness, while Qin watched the outburst without alarm. He met her accusation head-on and asked why he should ever kneel before her. After everything she had done, he demanded to know how she could still speak to him of betrayal. Pointing at him with trembling anger, demanded to know why he had never begged her forgiveness the way she believed he had begged Qin. Yi replied that kneeling to a wife who had betrayed him would have been the true disgrace of those 3 wasted years. Raged that her kindness had spoiled him, claiming that if she had known better, she would have forced him to kneel and serve her every day. Qin stepped forward and rebuked her hypocrisy, asking whether she had any shame left at all. When protested through tears, Chin answered that a slap did not require a special occasion when it was deserved. Overwhelmed, accused Chin of stealing her husband away. He turned from her and said quietly that some things were better left forgotten. He made the boundary clear he no longer belonged to in any sense. Desperate to pull him back, demanded that he resign and offered him a generous salary to leave Chin. Chin merely smiled at the proposal, while Yi weighed the absurdity of it in silence. She dismissed the offered sum as laughable and teased that would need far more money to compete. Stared at Yi, stunned to hear what salary he was now commanding. Chin warned her sharply that meddling in Yi's position at group would carry consequences. Yi declined the supposed rescue with quiet finality. He had no intention of serving as personal bodyguard. As the argument continued beside the car, claimed she worried for his safety, but Yi dismissed her suspicion and demanded evidence instead of accusations. When their car began to leave, ran after it, crying for Yi to stop. Her orange-haired friend watched the scene with disbelief, appalled by how completely had lost control. Left behind, seethed at the thought that she had somehow fallen below Chin in Yi's eyes. Elsewhere danger gathered around a ruthless man with a blade and a plan already in motion. Fang greeted brother with forced ease, apologizing for not coming out personally to welcome him. He produced a luxury watch and assured brother that it was worth more than 5 million. Sliding the boxed watch across the table, Fang instructed him to say that it had come from Yi. Brother studied the bruise on Fang's face and asked whether Yi had been the one to injure him. Clenching his fist, Fang declared that for the sake of his family, he had to be sent to prison. Brother hesitated, warning that interfering in family disputes often led to trouble no one expected. Fang rejected the hesitation angrily and demanded that the arrangement proceed. Someone snapped that Master was Brother's boss, not a name to be brushed aside. Brother answered that without Master, he would have nothing, and loyalty demanded restraint. Fang opened the box again and offered the 5 million watch for only 4 million. He insisted that Master treated Brother like family and would surely respect a deal that profitable. The watch, he argued, could be resold at once for a handsome gain. At last, Brother smirked. In his world, money came first, and he agreed to take young Master's job. Back in the car, Yi quietly instructed Chin not to touch it again without his permission. After a long silence, Chin cautiously asked President Yi whether he still had feelings for his ex-wife. He stared out at the passing city, reflecting on how closely love and hatred could become entangled. Watching him, Chin could not help admiring both his character and the background he had kept hidden for so long. Her thoughts hardened into ambition. She would take Yi away from completely. Near a tranquil pond, Yi began explaining the residence development project he had once envisioned. Chin described gardens, red maple woods, and rare natural hot spring with growing enthusiasm. Yi asked why she still intended to finance the family after all they had done, and Chin admitted their behavior had crossed every line. He explained that the core concept for the project had originally been his, prompting her to ask whether the family had stolen it. He spoke bitterly of their ambition and of the property disputes that consumed them after grandfather's death. He revealed that old Madam had approved his proposal, only to hand the project itself to. Chin understood immediately. In that family, sons would always be favored over daughters. He admitted that had spent her entire life enduring pressure and contempt from her own relatives. Even so, he said firmly, betrayal could never be excused. Plucking a leaf from the water's edge, he suggested that they go have a drink. Before long, he found himself amidst busy nightlife, openly longing for a glass strong enough to quiet his thoughts. In a crowded bar, a woman in red raised her drink and called cheerfully for another round. Seated beside her, a concerned friend asked what had happened and why she looked so miserable. Erupted, complaining that Chin had slapped her merely for scolding her useless husband. Her friend stared in disbelief and asked how she could still care so much about a man like Yi. Another woman immediately objected that insulting Chin's former husband was hardly acceptable. The woman in red shrugged cynically and claimed that in their world, everyone cheated sooner or later. With a teasing smile, the orange-haired woman accused of speaking from personal experience, leaving her momentarily speechless. Protested that she had never been caught in the act, while her calmer friend wondered why a live-in son-in-law should be expected to tolerate everything forever. The woman in red asked bluntly why had refused to value Yi when he knelt before her, only to resent him once he served someone else. For 3 years, she explained, he had loved with a devotion she had never bothered to appreciate. Perhaps he had finally rejected her, the pink-haired woman suggested, because he wanted to make a name for himself and face her with pride. The orange-haired woman nodded, convinced that this was the only explanation that fit his sudden change. His expression tightened, unwilling to accept that Yi might have slipped beyond her reach. Her friend dryly suggested marrying Fang instead. He was a playboy perhaps, but at least he would not care as deeply as Yi had. Insisted through her anger that Yi deserved every consequence now falling upon him. Then the woman in red asked the question no one had answered. Why had suddenly started delivering food 6 months earlier? Slumped against the bar, remembering a family trip to Switzerland, a sudden illness, and the money urgently needed for her brother's treatment, before someone demanded her phone at once. A frantic call followed, was ordered to return immediately because proof had been found that Yi sold the missing watch. The next day, employees at the corporate entrance respectfully welcomed President Yi as he arrived at group. Checking his phone, Yi frowned when he saw his name. On the call, Fang urged him to come to Grandma's house immediately, claiming he now possessed evidence that Yi had sold the watch. Yi answered with a cold challenge, daring Fang to confront him directly with this so-called proof. Irritated by the endless harassment, Yi decided to settle the matter once and for all in front of their alleged witness. He turned to his secretary and ordered the car prepared for Villa. If you'd like to see your favorite titles retold, leave a comment and I'll be sure to pick some of them up from time to time. Also, let me know which video format you like more, long videos or short ones. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you again soon.